You're listening to the Gold Standard Podcast. I'm your host, three-time Olympian and motivational speaker, Leah Amico. On this show, we're going to dig deep to unlock what it actually takes to build a foundation for greatness. If you're an ambitious person with big vision, but you feel like fear is holding you back, get ready for some major breakthroughs. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Gold Standard Podcast. I'm so excited to be back. And this time I am very excited about my guest because not only does she have unbelievable awards and accolades, she is one of my dearest friends. So let me tell you about my guest. She is a college softball head coach at Oregon State. Her team just went to the Women's College World Series this past June. She played for the Fresno State Bulldogs. She's a four-time All-American and also a national champion. She played center field. She is the only four-time Olympic medalist with USA Softball. She has 3 Olympic gold medals and 1 silver. She also was an assistant coach for Team USA when they brought home the silver medal in the Tokyo Games. And most of all, and my favorite, she was my roommate on Team USA for 10 years, the amazing and funny Laura Berg. Laura, welcome to the show.
Leah, I think the most important accolade is being your roommate for 10 years.
I know we have too many stories that go back, and we traveled the world and we represented Team USA, but more than that, we sure had fun as roommates, didn't we?
Absolutely. We had a great time. I don't think there was a day that didn't go by that we didn't laugh.
I know. I tell people Laura was the perfect roommate. I think mostly because I took like an hour to get ready and Laura took literally 2 minutes. So
well, my bangs at the time didn't need a lot of work. So
you roll out of bed and let's go. All right. So let's talk a little bit about you, Laura. I'm excited to share your story. First of all, congratulations taking your team to the World Series this year. Tell me a little bit about that experience. What was that like?
It was just amazing. It just, what a special year, what a special group, you know. Super excited for Mariah Mazon, you know, being a fifth-year senior and seeing the hard work that she has put in from, you know, year one to her COVID 5th year was just so amazing to be able to watch and get All-American and make it to the World Series. Funny story, you know, the Utah series was important. So it was, you know, you win the series, you could go to the World Series. If you sweep the series, there's a great chance, of going postseason. And so, you know, leading up to it, can't sleep. And I remember going to the field to get ready for game 1. And I don't listen to a lot of country, but it was on a station where Florida Georgia Line came on and they start singing their song, If It's Meant to Be, It'll Be. Oh. And it kind of like snapped and I'm like, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and let loose and let go and let these guys run with it. And that's what I did. I kind of just got out of their way and said, all right, guys, let's go. It's on you. It's your team. Let's go.
And how was that as a coach, since you played at the Women's College World Series, you won a national championship? What was that like to lead your team now as a coach?
It was really special being on that field. There's nothing like ending your career. I mean, you know this, with the national championship, you know, the last game on that field. It's been very different from when I played to what it looks like now. And I'm so excited for this group of athletes now because they get to play in such an amazing stadium like that, and they deserve it. You know, they deserve it.
Talk about some of the differences, you know, because again, it's been a long time since we played. Talk about some of the differences.
Well, they've got, you know, all those tall seating out in the outfield. I think at the time when I played, they maybe had like 9 or 10, you know, maybe even 10 to 15 of the smaller 4-level type bleachers out in the outfield that you see at parks. They were like the portable bleachers. And then down probably maybe from third base on down the outfield line, it was just a grass berm that people would sit on, or you see little kids rolling down it during the middle of the game. You know, that then it's got the second level where people can go up and sit. It's like a major league ballpark.
Well, you know? I think they had close to 13,000 fans, and this is the first year they expanded to be able to play in that environment is just truly amazing.
For sure. I mean, they've got incredible practice fields where, we didn't quite have that. So
Well, it's moving in the right direction, right? The
it
sport is.
for sure. For sure.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to when Laura Berg is young and she's here in Southern California growing up. You are a twin. You and your sister Randy were two of the best players here in Southern California. I was fortunate and, I don't even know, played against you way too many times before we became teammates on Team USA. But when did you fall in love with softball and when did you know that was your sport?
Yeah, I think when I was just a little kid, we went T-ball. We started our first year of T-ball. And then from there, we went into, rec leagues, Little Miss, things like that. And then I think it was at the age of 12 when we went to the Little Rascals. It was our first travel ball season. And I think that's really when the love kind of just kicked in and be like, okay, this is a sport that I want to play.
And you played other sports, right?
Yeah, volleyball in high school, basketball in high school. We played kick the can as kids and hide and seek, and all those fun things. Never got into really soccer or anything like that. But yeah, softball was always my first love.
So what was different about that sport than the others?
It's hard. It really is. You're asked to hit a round ball with a round bat and hit it squarely. And there's just something about the feel of the glove on your hand and being able to throw runners out at home plate and, be a part of a team, be there, supporting your pitcher, who's trying to get a batter out and they get to make them pop up and you get to catch the ball for them, and be a part of that and the traveling part of it. And, I love living out of a suitcase and hotels and airports and airplanes and, things like that.
And for you, I feel like it was your time and your team, the Orange County Bat Busters, that, up until that point, I feel like a lot of athletes were recruited and then they were moved to the outfield. I feel like you had athletes yourself and a couple other players on your team where people were specifically recruited as outfielders because of your play. I remember hearing about you. Well, I played against you, but then hearing from other people when they were recruiting how they wanted you because they knew no matter what was hitting the outfield, it wasn't going to be dropped. And what does that mean to you? How important that is that to you?
It's an honor for people to say that, what I always looked at it is, my pitcher is on that mound and she's working her butt off for me, to get somebody out. And if she gets somebody to pop up, I'm finding a way. I don't care what I have to do. I'm finding a way to make sure I catch that ball. And that's just kind of the approach that I've always taken as an outfielder. I'm left-handed. So, you just don't really see a lot of lefty shortstops, a lot of lefty third basemen or second baseman. So I'm kind of limited a little bit. But high school, I was a catcher there, but I got moved in because our catcher got injured, our senior catcher got injured. I remember my high school coach wanted to teach me how to pitch and, because I was left-handed. And I just have always had the love for outfield. I never wanted to pitch. I think I did a couple of lessons with him and that was it. I'm like, I'm an outfielder.
So that might be, I'm an outfielder. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will always say outfielders rule.
That's right. To this day, Laura, I mean, I believe you are the best outfielder there ever has been.
Thank you. You're biased.
Okay, when we talk about goals, right, with the gold standard, one of the core pieces I believe is having belief in goals and knowing where you want to go. So what did that look like when you were growing up? Like, how did college softball fit into that equation? And when did the Olympic situation fit into that equation?
I think once we started playing travel ball, Randy and I, it kind of, was not thrown at us. It was, told us that we can get a college scholarship. And so that was the main goal, was to be able to work hard and be able to get noticed, to be able to have our education paid for. And then being on the Orange County Bat Busters, one of my teammates was talking with Gary Hanning, and Gary made the comment to her, she is an Olympic type athlete. And it really she relayed that information to me, and it kind of hit me of like, oh, okay, I can do this then. Let's do this. Let's have this as a goal. And so ever since then, probably when I was, 14, 15 is when, I kind of set it as a goal to be in the Olympics.
That's awesome. And so You made the USA team with for the World Championships. You were the youngest player.
Yep.
How old were you when you made your first World Championship team?
I think it was 19. It was after my freshman year of college. I was 19.
Tell me about that experience going with all these veterans and women who have played. I mean, who was
Yeah.
the oldest player on that team, or how old was the oldest player?
Pat Duffy was the oldest player on the team. And I remember her taking me to this like go-kart place. And she's like, I'm the oldest, you're the youngest, let's go. And so we went and raced around in these go-karts. It was pretty cool. But, you know, being on that team was pretty special because I looked up to people like Lisa Fernandez and Dot Richardson, Martha Knopfsinger, Shelley Stokes. You know, I remember, you know, wanting to go to Fresno State because of Martha and Shelley. And, you know, Lisa, I remember in high school being like, oh my gosh, that's Lisa Fernandez. I had Randy go over and have her, you know, autograph a picture for me. So then I kept it in my wallet and just so it could remind me, like, you know, be like Lisa. And, you know, to be able to be on her team, Lisa and Dottie took me under their wings and, you know, kind of showed me like, well, this is what USA softball is all about. And so
Well,
pretty neat.
how important is that to have people to look up to like that?
Oh gosh, it's extremely important. They help guide you. They help, you know, mentor you in how to set goals. How do you hold yourself accountable? How are you with your teammates? How are you, you know, are you doing the right things to be able to obtain these goals that you've set for yourself? And if you waver, you have these people who kind of rein you back in. And then, you know, they push you, you know, if you come to practice and you have your head up your butt, they can get into the middle of you and be like, hey man, this doesn't align with your goals that you have set forth. And, you know, what are you going to do to change that? What are you going to do to get back on track? You know?
Yes. It's not just to show you, like you said, it's to keep you accountable too. I think that's
Right.
so important. People who surround themselves with only yes men and yes women that are just going to constantly tell you what you want to hear is not going to push you. It's not going to make you
Right.
better. It's not going to help you get to that next level, because there are blinders that we wear and things we don't see. And times we need to be kind of held accountable in that way that you're talking about.
Right.
So what does that look like now that you're a head coach at a Division I university in the Pac-12? What does goal setting look like with you and your teammates?
Yeah, you know, the one thing I do with my coaching staff is I get people who, you know, it's from a different perspective, a different lens. I may see something one way, they see something totally different, and then we can get onto common ground. Like you said, I don't want yes people. I want people who are going to push me and say, no, there's a better way of doing something, and it makes me better. You know, you have a teammate that is better than you in the outfield. Well, then you have to work harder to get better than her, and it pushes her to get better, and then it pushes you, and ultimately the team gets better. And so if I have a coach in here that push me to get better, then, you know, the program gets better. I have, you know, people that I know that I can call if I have a question, if I have, you know, something that I need help on. I know Mike Andrea always answers his phone if I give him a call and, you know, ask him a question. I know Karen Weekly and Ralph Weekly will answer. Joe Evans will answer her phone and help me out if there's anything that I need. Kelly Inouye, oh my gosh, she has been clutch and huge for me. Kurt Walker, even, you know, being the head coach here and me being his assistant was incredibly helpful, as, you know, him being a mentor to me.
And so do your athletes, do you pass that along to them? Do you guys set goals as a team?
For sure. I let them do it. You know what? I have my national championship ring. You know, they're the ones, this is their time. I'm a has-been, I'm done. It's their time. What are your guys' goals? What is it that you want to accomplish? And I ask them all the time, it's your legacy. What do you want people to say about you in your legacy when you're done playing here at Oregon State? And so I let them choose what it is that they want. And then I ask them, well, what does that look like? So then they set forth like, this is what, you know, we're going to do to be able to accomplish the goals that we need. Okay. We have to hold each other accountable. All right. And we can't get hurt or upset or, you know, whatever it might be, because you get called out on, you know, doing something that isn't aligning with your goals.
Do the athletes tend to take that well?
It varies from team to team. You know, you got some players that will say, yeah, you can get on me, you can hold me accountable. And then at the end of the day, when they don't handle it well. And so you just kind of learn who those people are. And then you have to go a different route about doing it. Do you walk them down the sideline with your arm around them and be like, hey, and take them away from their teammates so they're not getting called out in front of the team? Some athletes, you can just knock on the front door and they respond, and some you go through the kitchen window, and that's how you get them to respond. And so you just have to, as a coach, find different ways.
I love that. That's a great analogy. And it is so true. And that's one of the things, I would love to hear more about what you think that the coaches saw in you when they said she is an Olympic type athlete, because I feel like a lot of parents think their kid is the very best, right? As parents, sometimes we also have blinders. But what are those values? Because I believe this is one major area, is that we as athletes wanted to know, we wanted to be held accountable, we wanted information, and, we really wanted to rise up to the next level, and we're willing to take, constructive criticism. So what are those other attributes that you believe your coaches saw in you that made them, made Gary Hanning say she is an Olympic style athlete?
It's not just your athleticism, it's your passion, it's your enthusiasm for the game. Are you just like softball is 2 to 5 and that's it? Or is it like softballs from the minute you wake up, you take care of your schooling, but then, you go to bed at whatever time you go to bed and you're still thinking softball? Like I would walk through Target and have to buy silverware or something, and that would be my bat. And so I'm walking through Target working on my swing, right? So it's, I think it's a passion. It's a love for the sport. I think, I always was harder on myself than Gary was. Gary didn't need to yell at me because I always pushed myself to work harder than everybody else. It's your work ethic. It's the, never be satisfied type deal. It's the look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and ask yourself, did I get better? Did I, push myself?
Yeah, I think so too. And I agree. And I'll never forget us sitting in Coach Candrea's office and you saying, Coach, if it's time for me to get out of the game, please just be real with me. Like, I don't want to be hanging on too long. And I'll never forget, I was there just for moral support. You asked me to go with you. And I remember he said, there are some athletes coming up and they're faster than you guys and they're stronger, but they don't have the passion that you have. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked, especially in a time in today's day and age where everything is measured by metrics and you have every tool out there with technology these days, and you can't measure passion. And so is that something as a coach, do you look for that in athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to look for the Tom Brady's, man. I know he was drafted at 199 in the 6th round. And it's like, I heard on the documentary of like, if you could cut his chest open and see his heart, he's going number 1, and so you look for those that, do the extras, the little things, if they're not in the game, are they running down the sideline to stay warm? Are they swinging a bat in case they get called upon for a pitch hitting role? Are they ready when somebody on their team is slow? Do they have their helmet in hand knowing they're going to go and they're going to run? So then they just pop their helmet on and boom, coach, all they got to do is get that look from the coach and boom, they're off. They know that to get to first base. Are they going to pout, if they're not starting? Or, you can learn a lot by watching the game from the bench.
Yeah, you really can. I love that. I think that's so important for athletes and parents even to hear those little extra things. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about overcoming obstacles, because challenges, trials, slumps, it is all part of the game. It is not fun. Like you said, it is a very hard sport. And we took, our share of all of those experiences. So for you, what would you say is the biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
For me it was always my size. I was called Bones. I was, skin and bones when I was growing up and force fed, protein shakes. So I could gain some weight.
That's what I need to do for my son, Luke. Okay. I'm glad. Good to know.
But back then, the protein shakes were awful. Now, they're like fantastic. The pure protein, have you ever had that? Oh man, it's good. It's good. Okay. Different flavors, all that. It's really good. But it comes in like candy bars too, style type, or the drink. Both good. Okay. But I remember remember Mission Viejo. That was the park that we always played at.
Oh yes,
I
lots.
remember being there. I was 13, I think. And I remember being in the car in the van with my family. And I remember crying and telling my mom I want to quit. The only reason we're not playing is because of our size. And it's like, why, are we spending this money? Why are we putting this work? And I want to quit. I don't want to be on this team anymore. And my mom said, no, there's a lesson behind here for you to learn. And that lesson was to work harder. If you want a position, work harder than everybody else. So they can't put somebody in over you. And so that has been a lesson that I have carried out throughout my entire career playing.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 13. I remember being, what was I? No, I was 12 or 13, something like that. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably can relate. I'm not playing. It's not fun if I'm not playing. So forget it. I'm going to move on to something else where I can play.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that your mom pushed you. I mean, look what that led to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just a lesson that, every day I'm so thankful of my mom for not letting me quit. I made a commitment and, I learned a valuable lesson out of it, not just, something that I use for sports. I use it throughout life,
Yeah, for sure. Now, talk to me a little bit as a coach. What is the hardest thing? I think sometimes it's harder as a coach than it is as a player because you can actually make a difference and the bat's in your hand. So what has been one of the hardest things?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Like one thing I have a really hard time of dealing with is injuries. Like I've really had to learn to step back and really not very reactive about it. Because when I played, like I wasn't coming out of the game, concussed, broken finger, turned ankle, pulled hamstring. I don't care. I don't know. You fix it, and I'm going back out there on the field. I mean, I'm not telling people go play hurt. I don't, want people, to take that kind of a message and to do that. I just had a passion for the game that I wanted to play. That's all. I wanted to be in the game and play. And the mental health aspect of the game, that these kids are having to deal with, growing up in the day and age that they have with social media and everyone, all they do is show the positive things. Well, yeah, I mean, no one's going to go on there and said, hey, I just got into a car accident or, blah, 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 or I failed my test. No, everyone wants to show how happy they are. And it's, not everybody's happy, it's okay to not be okay and to be sad and to deal with those emotions and those feelings. And, if you need to get help, it's okay to go get help. And so I think having to deal with the mental health aspects, social media is a challenge for me every day.
Yeah, I understand. And I'm sure as coaches, just you care about these athletes like they're your daughters. And so to help figure out, I think that's, we need to keep talking about it, and it needs to be okay to not be okay and to talk about not being okay. And so
and to use the resources they have. That's the toughest part is like, I can lead them to water, but I can't make them drink. And so to go out there and just use the resources, all of the things that we provide, go to church. If, that helps you, go on walks, go and talk to a friend, whatever it might be, use it. It's valuable.
Find what it is for you. And I think that's important to know because usually it is isolation and it's people closing off and so many sad stories you hear that people are shocked to hear, when something happens, they try to take their life or they do take their life. Okay, let's do a little bit of a shift as well. Again, I want to talk about, because a lot of people don't know this, and I just remember this time period. But you were done in the 2008 Olympics. You won a silver medal with Team USA. You went to your 4th Olympics. And then you took a little bit of turn in what you were pursuing. Talk to me a little bit of what happened.
Yeah, at that stage in my life, I wanted to stay in Los Angeles. And, I was giving lessons, had a great time doing that, but just wanted to do something more. And I got into LAPD. Both my brothers are in law enforcement, and they talk about the team aspect, the camaraderie, how much fun that they have. And so I thought, well, maybe this will be fun. Maybe this is something that I can do and make a living out of it. And I'm so glad I did it. Something, other than softball, because it's been softball my whole life. And some amazing lessons, some amazing people that I've met that I still stay in contact with. Some great stories. That song, the freaks come out at night. It's very true, very true. But yeah, I just have some great stories and learned a lot.
And so how did you know that that was not what you wanted to do? Because I think, that happens to some people, right? They try something, they think, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go. And then what made you decide this is definitely not for me?
Yeah, I went, I don't know if you remember this, we were all at the College World Series. And I remember being there with all of you guys and thinking, I need to get back into this game. And I remember seeing Sue Enquest and being like, Sue, I need to get back into this game.
You knew
and
that the passion
literally,
wasn't there.
Say that again.
The passion wasn't there
It
for
just,
as a,
I just wasn't passionate about it. It was fun. I had a good time, great memories, again, great people that I got to meet, but the passion, the love, wasn't there. And if it's going to be something that I do for 30 years, I want the passion to be there every time I go there, and so Sue, it literally was like maybe a month later, 2 months. And I get a call from Kirko saying, hey, I have a job opening up. Are you interested? And so I knew in my heart this was the place to be.
well, and it's good that you put out those fillers and at least mention that in the sense of, like you said, I think sometimes people feel like they're stuck. And I think it's important for people to realize, no, this is how you're going to spend every day of your life. And I knew the difference because I would ask and say, hey, how do you like it? And you said, I mean, it can't be better. I'm doing something I love every single day. I get to go I go to the softball field as my office. And so, it's in your blood, it's in your bones for sure. That's awesome. Okay, wait, you have to tell this story though really quick because I do remember you talking about when you guys were practicing with the taser and and what people need to know is Laura is one of the toughest, like most stubborn people ever, and she does not like to show weakness. And I don't know if you still do or not, but you would not show very rarely show emotion. Opposite of me, many times where she probably saw me tearing up and crying. I don't know. Were you thinking like, come on, Leah, like get over it? Like
no, never. It's okay to cry. It is. So in law enforcement, you have to experience the taser and you have to experience the OC spray to know how it is that your body's going to react to it. And with the taser, they put one in your shoe and they put a little thing in your pocket. You don't actually get shot with it. And so you have it in your shoe, you have it in your pocket, you have your teammates right next to you holding on to you. And all you have to do is just feel it for a second. That's it. Feel it for a second. But if you go for 5 seconds, then you're in the 5-second picture. And I'm like, I'm going for 5 seconds. And so I was just like, all right. And I was the group leader, there are 4 groups, and I was one of the 4 group leaders. So they have to go first. So it's the person who really leads the whole group, and then it's the 4 leaders. And so I had to go in there and I'm like, all right, hit it. And I just buried my head down and just wrote it out for 5 seconds.
I remember you telling me like you did not make a sound, but then you talked about all the other people, and especially a lot of the guys were just screaming.
Oh, the guys, yeah, because the more muscle you have, the more pain you experience. And there's just like these big burly guys, just like, and they just are screaming.
But I just could picture this when you were telling me this because I just know you. Like Laura will not show anything, like you said. I mean, you'll have your arm hanging off and you'll still go out. I'm playing coach. I mean, you would have to literally be pulled off the field before they would, not put you back in. Honestly, oh, so great. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about the L in the gold standard, which is leadership. And you mentioned a little bit some coaches that you can reach out to and how important that is, and some people you looked up to. And when you made the USA team, Richardson, Lisa Fernandez, they pulled you under their wings and they started kind of showing you the ropes for what USA softball is. What would you say to people about the importance of finding people that you look up to, that you can talk to, having mentors in your life?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. Not only do you have them, helping you along the way and them being leaders, but you have people who can hold you accountable, when you kind of veer off a little bit. I think that it is something that every athlete should have, and not always just like your best friend, someone who's going to be real with you, someone who's just going to be like, yeah, no, today was not your best day. Like, what's going on? And kind of like check in with you, and see how you're doing. Maybe you flunked a test, maybe you got in a fight with your parents and, you brought it onto the field. I think it's something that every athlete and every coach needs to have. Absolutely, for sure.
What let's talk about the qualities that you would say at your travel ball level. You were a national champion. What qualities did your coach have at that level that you feel like helped you become your best version of yourself?
Yeah, Gary was, and even still now, extremely honest. If I go to him for one of his players and be like, hey, tell me about this person, and he's like, yeah, you got no shot. I'm like, okay, I won't waste my time then. But he's so honest and straightforward, and that's what I need. I needed, for him to be able to say, hey, you popping up, with a runner at third base, to the shortstop isn't going to help win ball games for our team. You got to get that further out, for them to be able to tag up and go, or not putting a sacrifice bunt down. I mean, it's one of the easiest things in our game, to be able to go out and do. And if you don't do it, he's going to let you have it. And that's, what I needed. That's what I wanted as a coach. And then someone that I could go to if I have a question about the game, Gary, even now, I would see him at the field. I'm out recruiting and be like, all right, Gary, give me your thoughts in first and thirds. To this day, I'll still pick his brain.
I love that. That means that you can be an expert. And even though he's coaching young athletes, you're a college coach now, you're an Olympian, you're a gold medalist, and yet there's always something to be learned, right? And
For sure.
it doesn't matter what level they're coaching, their expertise is there, and the game is the game. I like hearing that. Yeah. Okay, what about college? Best qualities of Margie Wright played for underneath at college?
I think it was always pushing you to be great every day. I think it was, knowing that she always had my back, as an athlete, that she was going to go to war for her players and her team, to be able to get, the amazing stadium that we have there. I was very fortunate. I got 2 years on the old field and got to play on the field with the great, like, Martha Knopfsinger and Shelley Stokes and Rayanne Pifferini and people like that. And then 2 years on the new field. And so that was pretty incredible. But, I always knew Margie always had our back.
And then you finished your career. I finished my career also playing for Mike Kendra for Team USA. Tell me what you feel like he brought to the table.
How much time do we have? I think with Coach Kendra, you knew that you were a person first, above and beyond being a softball player. You always felt that you were loved, on and off the field, and that he was going to do everything in his power to help you be successful as an athlete and as a human being. And so I will always be grateful to him. I chose to go to Fresno State over Arizona. And he's still, I still feel loved by him, even though that happened. And, I think the respect started from the very beginning, when he didn't recruit my twin. That was the only difference as to why, I went where I went. I was too shy as a player. I was too shy as a kid to go by myself. And, all the respect and the hats off to him. He didn't recruit my sister to get me. He was honest from the very beginning. And I have a shortstop. I have a second baseman. What I need is an outfielder. And from there, a lot of schools wouldn't have done that.
Wow, that says a lot. And I absolutely agree with what you're commenting on and saying, how as people, and I think that can go so far because we're so focused on our sport and knowing the game and the skill aspect and the work ethic. But above all of that, it's true. Like, if you pour out love and care, you're going to get that back. And then it just adds to all the other stuff that we're working on. It's really that foundational truth and peace, I think.
I think with Coach Kendra, he's the epitome of softball is not who you are, it's what you do. And that has always resonated with me.
I think that's important for everybody to think, no matter what we do later in life, no matter what we're striving for, who we are is so important. And that really should trump what we do always.
For sure.
It's hard for people because a lot of people find their identity in what happens on a field.
Right. Right.
Okay. So the last letter is D, which is dedication and drive. What drove you? You talk about work ethic, wanting to do more. What was the driving force behind it that kept you dedicated, committed, willing to sacrifice so much?
Yeah, I think the lesson, that one that I learned from my mom, is to outwork everybody. I didn't want to sit on the bench. I wanted to be in the game. I wanted to have the bat in my hand when the game was on the line. I wanted to be out there with my teammates. And then, playing for Gary, I always got pinched hit for during big crucial parts of the game. And I didn't want that. I wanted to be the one that he wanted in the batter's box with the game on the line, and so he would meet me. The man is a saint. I tell you what, he gave up his Friday nights to be able to meet me at a hitting facility to work with me hitting for an hour. For an hour, he would be there feeding the machine, or my dad would be feeding the machine. Both of those guys, like, they deserve a Purple Heart or something, or sainthood or something, because they just were two amazing men. And, it came to a point where, I was at the 9 hole and working with Gary every Friday. I got to go be in the 1 hole. And I think from there, that's the lesson that I learned, that if I want something, I'm going to have to go out there and work at it. I'm going to have to go out there and take it, because nobody in this world is going to hand it to me. Nobody's going to give it to me.
Wow. It drove you, and kind of goes back to those goals. Here's what I want. I want to be in this position. I want to be looked at by the coach as you trust in me, not you're finding a replacement. Yeah, right. That's powerful. Very cool. All right. If I was to say to you, when you hear the gold standard, just that phrase, what do you think of when you hear that?
I think of being on the gold medal podium with my sisters, hands on our heart, medals around our neck, seeing our flag rise higher than everybody else's. Every time I hear the national anthem, it puts me on that spot. In 1996, the very first time in the Olympic Games, it puts me there. Every time I hear the word gold, the national anthem, Leah, every time I hear my teammates' names, it puts me up on that podium with them. And so it just, it reminds me of all the hard work, not just myself, but everybody else, who was along for the ride, my parents, my sister, my coaches, my teammates, who helped push me get better every day. It just reminds me of everything that led up to that moment.
And I think that we've talked a lot about mentors and leaders and people you look up to, but it really is also those people beside you. Because I think of you and I in the outfield, and we literally just, yes, we're in the Olympic Games and there's all this pressure, but literally we're having so much fun. I was so immature, like, for sure. And we just loved what we were doing.
Yeah. And we won't tell everybody what it is that we were saying up there, but we did. We kept it nice and loose, and just because it was the Olympic Games doesn't mean, we put even more pressure on us. Pressure is a privilege, and, that's why we play athletics, and, we want the bat in our hand, but at the same time, it's a game. It is a game.
It is. Okay. Tell us some fun, memory that we have from being roommates. I don't know. What comes to your mind when you think?
Oh my gosh. Again, how much time do we have?
Okay, just a top one.
I remember, having this camera that had a timer on it, and we would go all over the place and just climb up roofs and on top of fences or in trees and hit the timer and take pictures. And, I would remember, I can remember the apartment that we were in, listening to like Jan Arden and gosh, who else was it? I'm telling you, No Doubt first came out with their album, Spiderweb. And then I think it was Alanis Morissette her album was out. And just remember having the music going, and, I don't.
Do you still take a lot of pictures or no?
Oh, well, my phone is loaded with pictures. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Me too. See, it's who we were. It's who we were. And we were. Because I tell people, back when you had to like actually get pictures printed, I think between the two of us, I don't even know, do we have 40 like together or what? But rolls. 40 rolls. From
it was like a
tour.
Big manila envelope full of the film that was in there, and then we would just take one out, and then the exciting part of taking it to like Costco or somewhere or Sam's Club and you're like putting it in, and a week later, 10 days later, boom, you get to go see through your pictures.
I
It's like,
know.
oh my gosh, always having to get doubles because I need to give Leah the other copy of it. And oh yeah. Yeah. I
I know
remember walking miles to go get Dr. Pepper in Japan because we couldn't find it anywhere. And we were Dr. Pepper drinkers.
We wanted Dr. Pepper to sponsor us because Coke was the sponsor of the Olympic family. And
I mean, Leah,
we're
where
like,
was NIL when we played, man? We could have had Dr. Pepper, geez.
we would have. And you jumped off that wagon. I am still on it though. I'm trucking along. And also we need to tell the story before we leave. Because Laura is the biggest prankster, but the best part about being Laura's roommate for 10 years, I was her roommate on Team USA. The best part was that you are protected from having pranks pulled on you. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I do know you don't prank your roommates. So,
so we have to tell them what your last prank on the softball field was at the 2008 Olympic Games.
Yeah, so we were at practice and it was so hot and muggy in Beijing, and we knew that President Bush was coming to the field. But we started warming up and doing our thing, and all of a sudden we just see this like entourage of like black vehicles coming up. And we're like, oh, he's here. And I remember we kind of gathered together as a team, and I was like, I think I said it to Nuvia. I'm like, Nuvia, I'm gonna put the chalk handprint on him, and she was like, no, you won't. And I'm like, oh yes. And so he came into the circle with us. And as he came around, like introducing and shaking everybody's hand, I went and got chalk on my hand. And then it was after Cat Osterman. So they had that Texas bond. And then he came and he shook my hand, and I brought him in and I patted him right on the back. And it was, like I said, hot and muggy and humid. And he had come from beach volleyball, so his back was all sweaty. And so the chalk like just stuck right to the back of his hand. And I can just remember everybody who was behind him crack up laughing. He had no idea.
So Laura was the queen of, we'd be in Japan competing, and she would, put her hand in chalk on the chalk line. And right before you go up to hit, she gives you that little high five on your leg, your rear. And all of a sudden you go to bat and you have no idea. You have this big old handprint for everybody to see. So you finished it and you retired with the president. That's pretty darn good.
I mean, you can't get any higher than that. Like that was going to be my only opportunity to ever probably meet a president. I'm like, I have to do it. I'll never have this opportunity.
That's seriously so great. All right. So as we finish up, let's go quickly. This is kind of a speed round. I'm going to go to your favorite 5. All right. So okay. Number 1, your favorite book or podcast.
My favorite book right now is Marching Off the Map. And it's about working with athletes these days, the millennials versus Gen Z. And so it really helped me be able to see it from a different lens and see it from their lens.
I will have to check that out. Okay, number 2, favorite quote.
Favorite quote sitting on my desk right now. It says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. And so I try to take that to my team and to listen without replying.
That's great. Great reminder. All right, number 3, favorite athlete of all time.
Oh gosh. I have to pick just one. Lisa Fernandez.
Awesome. Favorite place you've traveled to?
Italy.
And favorite memory in sports?
Being on the gold medal podium.
Yes. 3 times you got to do that. Okay. And your 3 gold tips that you would give to softball players today that are striving to be the best, whether it's high school or college, what would you say are just these we've talked about a lot today, but 3 points.
I think 1 is your work ethic. If you want it, work hard and go get it. 2, play other sports. Don't specialize in one sport. Play multiple. And then 3, take care of your mental health.
Good. Those are really important tips for everybody. And reminders, I think, for all of us, even if you're out of the sports world, maybe not playing other sports, but having different hobbies and, check into other things and kind of live life and find all the different, aspects that fill you up, like you said, in mental health for all of us these days. Thank you so much, Laura. Obviously, I was super excited to have you on. My favorite roommate on Team USA ever. We have the best memories, but thank you so much for sharing with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Gold Standard Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share it with a friend. You can post on social media and tag @Leah20USA or use #GoldStandardPodcast. Make sure you also subscribe so you get notified each week as a new episode releases. You can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We appreciate your reviews as they help encourage others to listen in. Until next time, live out the gold standard and keep turning your goals into reality.